Hello, welcome to All Things Hemp and Wellness. This is the first of a series of meetings that we're going to be doing to have discussions on all things hemp and wellness. I'm your host, Melissa Temple Augusta, and we're taking the opportunity this first time to go back to the basics. And depending on what you're here for, I know you're here to learn something, and maybe you have something to add to the conversation, which would be amazing. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I've been in this industry for almost 8 years, and I've learned a lot. I've studied with some medical professionals and scientists, and I've learned a lot just through my interactions with all sides of the industry, the hemp and the marijuana side of the industry, and working with clients and patients and people who come from all walks of life. So it's really important that we kind of go back to the basics, especially those of us that want to get into the business of hemp and wellness. So today we're going to focus on hemp. Throughout this series, we're going to talk about other plants, superfoods, fruits, different things that help us with our wellness, that kind of go along with the industry of hemp and all of the things we're trying to do to improve our health. And in this episode, we will, of course, be focused on this amazing plant, but I'm really excited to, in subsequent episodes, to talk about other foods like the muscadine grape and turmeric and ginger and a lot of different things, plus the business of hemp. We have a ton of topics lined up, and we're very excited to do this up for you. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to talk about hemp today, as I promised, and the first thing we have to do is look at the history. Whether you know it or not, hemp has been connected to us for more than 30,000 years. It's ancient. This goes way back to before any of us had anything to say, before governments could outlaw hemp and marijuana or anything else could be done. Hemp is one of the 50 fundamental herbs in traditional Chinese medicine. It has been used throughout history, as you can see from the screen here. And luckily today, a lot of the restrictions that were put on hemp and the cannabis plant in general in the 1930s are improving. There are still places in the world, of course, where it is illegal. And the goal here is for us to change that and to share hemp as far and wide as we possibly through helping others and just giving people an understanding to kind of eradicate the misnomers that people have. So here are a few highlights of the history that I love. The first one is way back in 2730. You see that the Chinese Emperor Shenyang recorded the first medicinal use of hemp. And then in 1850, it was a staple in the United States for agriculture, for rope, for so many things, most importantly for medicinal uses. It was part of the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, the official drug reference manual. And if you go into old time pharmacies now that have like a history wall, glass, you'll see all the little bottles and tinctures. You will inevitably see cannabis sativa as one of the remedies in the tincture form. And, you know, all of the founding fathers had to have a hemp crop. All the animals ate hemp, and in turn, the people got hemp in their diets. And then fast forward to 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was passed in the United States, and this affected the whole world, not just the United States, but the prohibition of cannabis lumped in hemp, even though hemp is not psychoactive and hemp is the sister and brother. They are, we'll talk about that in a moment. Basically, we'll break down the difference between hemp and marijuana. They're both cannabis, so they got lumped in, and unfortunately, we lost access to that. Now, fast forward, there are companies, of course, that have been working hard. One of them is Canaway, and a company that I'm associated with, a Medical Marijuana Incorporated and Hemp Meds. That family of companies worked to start changing laws. They worked with families in different countries and worked by legislating governments, speaking to the FDA and the World Health Organization, and working with scientists and medical professionals to change this. Do you know that even in medical school, probably only 3% of them now today do they even speak of the system in the body, that the cannabinoids in the hemp plant, in the cannabis plant, how they work to control a variety of functions in our bodies. So that's a shame, but we're working to change that. It takes time. So when you look at the different types of hemp and cannabis, we may be familiar with some of these terms: indica, sativa, ruderalis, which is a lesser known type. We're, focusing on hemp, and we don't usually use the words indica, sativa as much when it comes to hemp. Those are more marijuana terms for the strains. With hemp, it's cultivars, and hemp is from the cannabis sativa L plant. So if you can envision, cannabis sativa L is the mother, and then you have hemp and marijuana as the brother and the sister. The psychoactive sister is marijuana, and we'll call hemp the brother, okay? So here's just an example, whether you've seen this or not in person. Marijuana is a shorter, bushier plant. It naturally has a higher concentration of THC, which is the psychoactive cannabinoid. There are over 140 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant, and they all have their own medicinal purposes. Some of those are lesser known and less researched, but we're usually used to hearing mostly about CBD and THC. However, there are a plethora of other cannabinoids that are now becoming more widespread, like CBN for sleep and CBG for mood. Those may have existed in different formulas that you have bought that are full spectrum or whole plant, but up until this point, nobody's been speaking about them. So when it comes to hemp, hemp naturally has a higher concentration of CBD. It's very tall and stocky, more like bamboo. And the seeds, of course, are very known for their health benefits. This grows in many different climates, and a lot of different countries and states here in the United States are working to perfect their growing processes for hemp. I know that we work with farms all over the world. In the Netherlands, there is a very rich, amazing source of hemp, one of the original places where it was grown. And then in a lot of states in America, they have perfected the process. So basically, we want hemp to be everywhere. We know that hemp is beneficial to the planet, to the environment. It cleanses the soil. It's a bioremediator. I remember when I first started learning about this over 8 years ago, that when I heard about Fukushima, the nuclear reactor, what did they use to clean up the soil around that incident? Hemp. Plant hemp. Hemp will bioremediate, absorb all the heavy metals and the toxins from the soil to clean it up. That's why it's really important to know where your hemp is grown, and is it grown without chemicals, without pesticides? What was grown in that ground before? Here in North Carolina, where I am located, a lot of hemp is being grown on former tobacco crops. Now, what was used on those tobacco crops? So sometimes they have to grow a cycle of hemp and then get rid of it because it has now absorbed all the toxins that were living in the soil from those days. And now the soil is clean and they can move forward. What an amazing plant. Imagine what it's doing in our bodies when we eat it, right? So anyway, it doesn't need pesticides. It doesn't need herbicides and fungicides, no irrigation. It's sustainable, renewable, carbon negative, number one. And there are over 50,000 applications for its use. And beyond that, companies that are making skincare and food and CBD need to look beyond. And the companies that I partner with are very invested in the future and all of these things you see here: biofuels, plastics, textiles, clothing, paper, packaging, building materials. Hemp homes are a reality. I was speaking to a man who owns a hemp building company out of another country, and it is fascinating to see how quickly this has grown. Even batteries, everyone. Did you know that you can conduct electricity from hemp? It's fascinating. So with all of the possibilities and all of the potential, what does it do for us in our bodies? What is one thing today that we can benefit from, that we can control, while all of these researchers and scientists are working on the future innovations? Well, we can ingest cannabinoids like these that you see on the screen. So let's find out why we need these cannabinoids and how they were actually discovered. One of the most important scientific discoveries of the 20th century was made by Dr. Raphael Mechoulam in Israel. And he discovered the endocannabinoid system in our body. It is the single most important medical scientific discovery ever, even surpassing the sterile surgical technique. And we know that before that was discovered, a lot of people died in childbirth, in surgeries. That was definitely an issue. And then we'll see that Dr. David Allen also did a lot of research on this category. This is what we need medical professionals to understand, is that there is a system in the body, a self-regulatory system. So what does it do? So the endocannabinoid system controls all of these systems: our skeletal system, our respiratory system, muscular, cardiovascular, digestive, nervous, keep going, immune system. The endocannabinoid system is what connects all of these together and helps them operate the way that they are supposed to operate, keeping everything in what we call homeostasis or balance. And you see this figure to the right with all of these dots. Those are all of the endocannabinoid receptor sites located throughout all of our major organ systems throughout our body. And these are what send the messages to help your body operate the way it should. That's why when people say all the different things they're experiencing from ingesting hemp, and you think, wow, that sounds like snake oil, because for them it's doing this and for them it's doing this. That's because whatever is out of whack in your body from this list, it's going to help to normalize that thing, which is different from what I need. So once you find what it is that you need, hemp will take control of that. It will help it normalize. And that's what we need. We need balance in many ways, but we're talking about our organ system here. So let's go a little further to summarize the exact things that we can look forward to when we ingest these cannabinoids from the hemp plant, these little molecules that are naturally occurring in the plant. Because it is the body's largest self-regulatory system, we're talking about big things that affect our lifestyle. We're not just talking about diseases and conditions and the most serious things that people usually seek medical attention for. These are daily living things that can disrupt our lives, our attention, so many things, our mood, our sleep, our appetite, our hormone protection. Those are things that we need. Our stamina, our energy, our metabolism, our ability to stay alert and focus. There are so many things that just help us on a daily basis. Even athletes seek out cannabinoids for performance, for recovery after games and workout, for stamina, bone recovery, muscle recovery. There are over 20,000 studies on cannabinoids through PubMed.gov and the white papers that are located there. Actually, I can share a link with you too in the chat at the end of a resource where you can go and look up those things. These things are proven, and our own government even has a patent on CBD, believe it or not. So they know that is very important as an antioxidant, as an anti-inflammatory. And because we're influencing homeostasis, we're harmonizing all of our bodily functions. You have two types of receptors that cannabis and hemp are triggering: CB1, which are in the brain and the nervous system, and CB2, which are in all of your peripheral organs and your immune cells. We know during the last few years of this pandemic that all of us have really been more in tune with what is going to increase our immunity naturally, to arm us and guard us. And this is one of those things that can be in your arsenal of things. It's even in our skin. So when you look at skincare that has CBD in it or hemp in it, you wonder why does that need to be in there? Because this is an organ, and this is one of the outermost largest organs of our body, and it also needs immune system protection. It gets inflamed, right? It ages. There are so many processes in the little micro organs of our skin that cannabis affects as well. So fascinating. And our furry friends also have an endocannabinoid system. All mammals have an endocannabinoid system. Sometimes they need less than us because their body weight is smaller, but also their endocannabinoid systems can be much more sensitive. Like horses, they are much bigger than us, but their endocannabinoid systems are very sensitive. So there are holistic veterinarians who are recommending cannabinoids for pet owners. just for even daily life, for anxiety, for different things that animals go through. So I love that we can include our whole family in what we recommend. So let's now talk a little bit about these individual cannabinoids. Our own bodies produce cannabinoids, by the way. They're called endocannabinoids. That's where that name, the endocannabinoid system, comes from. For example, mother's breast milk. That's the very first place that cannabinoids that our body makes for immunity, to give our immunity to a baby, are started. Breast milk is the first place. And, you know, we're not really told why. We know that when we have, I am a mother, and I remember how urgent it was to give the baby that first drink of milk, you know, right as soon after it's born, or in the NICU to give it to them through a tube in some way, a syringe. And it's because they have cannabinoids. It's setting up their whole immune system that comes from our bodies. Replicating this with plants is easy once we know exactly what to do, because our bodies recognize these cannabinoids as something that we innately need. So we also find cannabinoids from plants in other plants, not just hemp, and they're called phytocannabinoids, like echinacea, hops, flax. And I already mentioned that there are over 140 cannabinoids that have been identified. And some of these are very, very fragile. So if you get a product that's very processed, like a gummy or even a capsule, in some ways, it could lose those very fragile cannabinoids. Also smoking, hemp smoking is a big thing here in North Carolina, having hemp flower available. But even that, the combustion of smoking can destroy some of the fragile cannabinoids. So that's why we recommend eating them, using them as a tincture or a paste under your tongue, incorporating them into foods as raw as possible so that you don't miss out on any of the nutritional benefits of them. There are other beneficial components in the plant too. Look at this list here. You have terpenes, which are, when you smell the plant and you see the color of it, these terpenes are the natural defense system of the plant, and they also have their own cannabinoid-like qualities. Chlorophyll, flavonoids. Flavonoids are antioxidants that protect us from oxidative stress. Vitamins, minerals, proteins, fatty acids. There's so many amazing components to the plant. It should be called vitamin hemp. So all of this works together for something that you may have heard called the entourage effect. And the entourage effect is when all of these things synergistically work together to create a result for your body. And that is a beautiful thing. So you want to get as many of these cannabinoids as possible when you choose a product. Some people obviously cannot have THC, even in its lowest quantity. If you get a CBD product that is a whole plant, we call that full spectrum, it can only have 0.3% THC here in the United States. Those percentages vary. It's 0 in Mexico. It's 0 in most of Europe. Some European countries are changing. It's 0 in Japan. It's higher in certain countries, but whatever that legal limit is, that could be tested, and people that work in governmental jobs, law enforcement jobs, different things where people operate heavy machinery, they may be tested for that. So we do have access, as you know, you've seen the stores with all the variety of products. It's mind-boggling, but there are products that they have removed the THC just for that reason, so that someone can still get the benefits. It won't be a full entourage effect, but it will be better than not taking it at all. And so these are the decisions that we have to make, and you have to speak to someone educated when you make a product decision, because it is very easy to get something that's really just not going to do a lot for you. It's over processed. It's mixed with a bunch of sugary additives that get in the way of the absorption of the beautiful plant. So if anybody needs advice, please let me know. what you need, and I'm happy to help. So what is the problem now? Why would we reach for hemp? Why would this endocannabinoid system not be doing its job? Well, this guy, Dr. Ethan Russo, we already talked about Dr. David Allen, who is a cardiac surgeon who is also endorsing the endocannabinoid system. But this man, Dr. Ethan Russo, identified a syndrome called clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. And this is basically when this system is not working properly because we're not feeding our systems with cannabinoids. And this could explain a lot of the health issues that we have today. And all we need to do is supplement with cannabinoids. Most scientists will agree that an adult will need about 50 milligrams of CBD, and other cannabinoids will be in a lesser quantity, but 50 milligrams of CBD is a good benchmark for everyday health to get this homeostasis process happening. You may need more if you have a health condition or a concern, and may need less if your body weight is less than 100 pounds or if it's a child or a pet, but that's a good benchmark for you to go by. So here's the solution. Put your body into homeostasis by feeding your system with phytocannabinoids so that this teeter-totter can get more balanced. We need more of these phytocannabinoids to play nice with our endocannabinoids that are already in the body, to kind of ignite them, turn them on, light up these receptor sites and say, get to work, balance my system. And you notice a difference. Some people notice it very quickly. Some people, it takes longer because their body needs to detoxify first. And we take tons of medicines. We have tons of chemicals in our environment around us. And sometimes hemp's first job is to help to get rid of all that stuff. And then we can get to the work of homeostasis. It's a process just like anything else. Here's just some of the research, if you want to take a screenshot, that you can see of all of the conditions, all of the things that have been studied. And it's incredible. This man here is Dr. Stuart Titus, pictured here, and he is one of the foremost experts on CBD, a person that I've been learning from for over 8 years, very well respected. He is who addressed the FDA on the safety and efficacy of CBD right before 2019. And that has gone into the process of letting people understand more about what's going on here, why we need these, why it shouldn't be illegal to have access to this. So I just want to say to everyone that, you know, I have a business where I do many things. I'm a consultant, but one of the things that I do is I help entrepreneurs and clients and customers and whoever needs to know more about hemp. I have the way of connecting you to resources that you need. I have great ideas on businesses and how to break into the hemp industry from my experience over the last 8 years. And anything you need to know, product questions, science. If you want to connect with groups that are interested in this, take a screenshot of my contact information and let's connect. I'd love to talk to you. We can have a consultation. It's free. I'm happy to talk to you about what I do, what I've experienced. I experience of my own changed my life and the time, but basically it involves me breaking recovery from that, and the process of getting off all of the prescriptions that were part of that journey and all of those surgeries and everything that I went through. Everybody goes through things and everybody uses different natural solutions for different reasons, but I've always been on a quest through acupuncture and herbs and eating the right foods and just trying to find solutions to reduce inflammation and pain in my own body. I'm not making any claims. I'm not a medical professional. I just know from my own experience, it was a game changer. It allowed me to be better mom, 2 businesses, and have the energy to and to travel. And I was laying on a couch before that and just not knowing what to do, getting laid off from work and thinking, oh, now what, So it's just so inspiring when I hear the stories of everyone. And my goal is to help other people realize that for themselves. And I just want speaking to all of you today, and I look forward to seeing you in future episodes tackle subjects like this. This sets the foundation for us, and now we can get into. If you also want to let me know on my social media or in the event conversations on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you are, let me know what you want to talk about. We can definitely add some topics in there, and I'm looking forward to having some guest speakers with me in the future. But here we go, 2023. Looking forward to seeing you all again weekly for this seminar. Take care, everyone, and have a great evening. Bye.